Alright then, unlike what I usually do, I'm actually going to open this video by leaking the new information I have first, and it's regarding Intel. It adds on to information I leaked last week about Raptor Lake's release date, and it's basically just more confirmation that indeed Raptor Lake is a Q4 2022, at best, product. Intel has just briefed board makers that Raptor Lake enthusiast SKUs should go on sale October onwards. I don't have a firm day in October yet either. Now, they'll try to do a launch event near the end of September, but they're still not even sure if that'll include having third-party reviews around the same time. So, could it be a paper launch last week of September for Raptor Lake? Maybe, but right now Intel is only committing to do a sort of an event, and yeah, this is only for the high-end Raptor Lake SKUs, maybe the very top laptop chips, and of course then also the K SKUs for desktop. Everything else has been pushed back to 2023, and there's just no way around it. That means, at least behind the scenes, compared to what they were telling their partners earlier this year, Raptor Lake is effectively a little bit delayed. A few months ago, I told you guys about how Intel was briefing their partners that Raptor Lake would be ready in Q3, that laptop was going to follow before 2023, but now Intel's partners were just blindsided that a lot of the volume they thought they'd have this year won't be sold this year. Now, does this mean that AMD is going to be able to launch Zen 4 before Raptor Lake? Well, there have been a lot of leaks suggesting that AMD was going to launch Raphael in September, including my leak from over a year ago, actually. But AMD has just confirmed that it's actually going to launch in fall. Although, do you guys know when fall starts? Interestingly enough, still in Q3 in September. Actually, fall starts on a Thursday in September. And you know what also has happened on Thursdays in past falls? 3950X and 5950X reviews and launches. Now, does this confirm that Zen 4 will launch on that Thursday in September, seemingly a week or more before Raptor Lake actually is able to launch, even if they pretend it's launching ahead of time? No, this does not confirm that. But it is interesting food for thought. And I think we should keep in the back of our minds that we just finally got confirmation on Z790 existing. Meanwhile, AMD has actually been showing real motherboards, and I have entire SKU lists from motherboard manufacturers telling me pricing for a whole list of different AM5 products. That's where my X670E pricing leaks have come from. Lists of pricing, full spec sheets. It kind of seems like AMD's motherboard is at least further along than Z790. Indeed, basically nobody that I've asked in the past week really knows much about Z790 besides the fact that it exists and it's supposedly launching September-ish or into or after October. This Raptor Lake release date sounds basically like the same time as Zen 4, but it just feels like a squishier release date to me, and that's alarming. It's alarming because it's yet another Intel product that I'm struggling to come up with why it couldn't release when Intel initially told its partners it would release. The node excuse doesn't work for Raptor Lake. It uses the same node as Alder Lake, uses basically the same socket. There's no huge architecture changes. It should have been able to launch before Zen 4, and now it sounds like, at the very least, it'll have no meaningful launch advantage. And this applies to basically everything else going on at Intel right now. If we look at Alchemist, which is, of course, massively delayed, it doesn't even use an Intel node. It uses TSMC, and it seems to be a series of driver problems that they just can't nail down. But that's also not the same issue that Sapphire Rapids has. Again, using Intel's now pretty decent 10nm node, and everything I'm hearing is it's just unexpected or unforeseen, unplanned for hardware bugs that keep making them push Sapphire Rapids down the road. But this doesn't really work for me anymore. You have, I don't know, some sort of hardware bug reoccurring issue over here, driver issues over here, and with Raptor Lake, I don't know what it is. With Ponte Vecchio, I don't know what it is. They've already announced Rialto Bridge, and Ponte Vecchio isn't even out yet. Probably just more hardware bugs because they decided to bite off way more they can chew, promising way more than they were capable of ahead of time with all those tiles they're using. But all of this really points to the same thing: execution issues. The fact is, it just seems like Intel does not have a grip on doing things when they say they will, and it's making a lot of their products that should have been really impressive, products that I was hyped about for years, feel like it may be too little, too late. And I have to say this, I don't want it to be too little, too late. I want Intel to be competitive at least enough to make AMD have to keep lower than they necessarily have to prices. And I think I actually do need to do this. People need to remember that I definitely don't want, nor never have wanted, Intel to do badly. I only report bad news when there is bad news to report. I am the one who said that Alder Lake could be Intel's Zen 1 moment, a return to form. And more importantly, and again, because a lot of people seem to be forgetting this, I think it would be good for everyone to remember, I'm the one who leaked Redwood Cove in Meteor Lake. I'm the one who leaked Raptor Lake having 8 big cores and 16 little cores first, and even said this. And Intel is, again, positioning this to challenge Zen 4 Raphael. Do you guys now see why I think AMD may want to do a full lineup if they can at the end of this year? I think it's going to be pretty close in gaming performance. And with Intel, even if they're little cores, doubling the amount of little cores, I just think AMD's cutting it a little close going with just 16 big cores. Alder Lake is the start of Intel not losing more ground. The start of competition slowly but surely coming back. I directly said I thought Raptor Lake could challenge Zen 4. And it's just hilarious because I've seen people online acting like I'm hating and underestimating Intel, quoting Raptor Lake performance claims to me, and forgetting I'm the one who fucking told you how Raptor Lake would perform in the first place, geniuses. If me, the guy who's leaking tons of exciting Intel stuff for years, is telling you he's worried about Intel again, Occam's razor would suggest that means there's probably something wrong. I get more views if all I do is say positive stuff. You see lots of other larger tech channels always smiling and putting a positive spin on everything. It helps me to be overly positive. But if I stop being overly positive towards Intel when they're the cornerstone of a lot of my best leaks, that's just a bad sign. I'm not hating. I'm telling you, bad things may be coming to Intel again. And this week, Intel publicly confirmed some of the bad things I was leaking recently was being said about Intel behind the scenes. And today, even more worrisome for Intel, AMD confirmed that Intel is going to be in a lot of trouble over the next 2 years, more than honestly I thought they would be when I started getting close to the Alder Lake launch. And this stuff is important because if you're looking to build a new system over the next year, you might want to know what you're going up against or what you need a plan for happening if you were to buy an AMD or an Intel product. And that is what I want to talk about today because, guys, whether you realize it or not, the stuff that was confirmed this week really sets a somber tone potentially for what's going to happen with Intel over the next 2 years. I want to talk about it, but first, an ad from a sponsor. Do you know everything? Well, congratulations, because I certainly don't. There's always new things to learn or things even to just brush up on that I'm getting rusty in. And honestly, the same goes for my dog, Reese here. Actually, I don't even think she understands what a lot of things even are, like ducks, for example. Both of us could probably use Brilliant. Today's video is indeed sponsored by Brilliant. Brilliant is an interactive learning platform built to make you see math and science in new ways that are fun. Brilliant uses fun, hands-on, or pause-on courses that have been tailored to keep you engaged so you can learn STEM courses in an effective way. Whether you want to do things like brush up on everyday mathematics you're getting rusty in, or learn the fundamentals of computer science for the first time, Brilliant can keep you sharp or help you develop new skills for your career. And best of all, Brilliant is free to start and waiting for you. Join the over 11 million people learning on Brilliant today with a special offer just for Moore's Law is Dead listeners. Head to brilliant.org/Moore's Law is Dead to get started for free with Brilliant's interactive lessons. The first 200 people to sign up get 20% off an annual membership. And honestly, clicking on this link really does help the channel a lot. If you need to brush up, support Brilliant because they support me. Get started for free at Brilliant today. All right, so first, to make my overall point in this video, I'm going to start talking or adding some context to why Raptor Lake, although very good, and again, at the performance levels I've been leaking for almost a year now, it's still not the home run it could have been. In other words, I'm not saying Raptor Lake is bad, but I think people are underestimating how competitive Zen 4 is going to be. You see, the main advantage Raptor Lake had, or the main two advantages I thought, were the fact that number one, it's going to be at least competitive with Zen 4. Again, who wins? Who cares which one wins by 5%? Guys, Zen 4 and Raptor Lake are going to be close at most things. But the fact of the matter was, Raptor Lake was supposed to launch first, stealing the performance crown that I didn't think Zen 4 was going to be able to overall take it everything that easily. And even if Raptor Lake lost efficiency, well, I thought they'd have a pricing advantage in the mid-range. And again, they launched first. And then, importantly, after Zen 4 launches, Meteor Lake was supposed to be that second follow-up punch to AMD that was going to make it so it was all really a moot point. At the end of the day, Raptor Lake was supposed to launch first, take the crown, AMD would dispute it, but then Meteor Lake would come in, steal mobile, and follow up on desktop mid-next year. But again, like I've been leaking, now we know Raptor Lake doesn't really have any launch advantage over AMD, and Meteor Lake seems like it's slipping to mid or late next year. And Zen 4 people, as AMD confirmed today, will be competitive. They were definitely sandbagging at Computex. For those who missed it, at AMD's Financial Analyst Day, AMD was a bit more forthcoming about the performance. They confirmed there is no IPC regression. It is, in fact, the IPC increase that I leaked a couple weeks ago, and that the 5.5 gigahertz boost clocks, that's not peak. That is above that is what they're going to be able to hit. And again, with all-core boost clocks that, when combined with an 8-ish% IPC increase, should make this generation bigger than Zen 3. Multi-threading performance will be what I said, 30 to 40%, with some scenarios, especially those with AVX 512, I believe being even above that, and a single threading performance increase that, again, more than Zen 3, higher than 20% for at least the high-end, not lowly clocked SKUs. So again, that just makes it clear right there, Intel doesn't have a big performance advantage with Zen 4 in just about anything from what I can tell, besides, I don't know, maybe Cinebench single threading, which no one just uses Cinebench for single threading performance. And this is where we get to the core of the issue with Raptor Lake then. Remember, it doesn't have a launch timing advantage. Meteor Lake isn't coming to save its ass. Raptor Lake doesn't just have to beat Zen 4 on 5 nanometer. It has to beat Zen 4 with Vcache and other 4nm Zen 4 models. Today at the Financial Analyst Day, AMD confirmed that their Phoenix APU is on 4nm. That is going to blow away Intel's Raptor Lake mobile options by probably laughable margins. And Meteor Lake's coming out too late for me to really see it as anything more than something that can maybe challenge it at some things. So there goes mobile completely. And remember, AMD has been, well, I think this is something people forget, very lazy with their releases over the past few years. Not in terms of executing when they say they will, but the amount of products they launched. Using the same chiplets between Epic and Ryzen, basically just changing only 1 or 2 IP blocks at a time, every new APU, launching like 1 APU a year. I mean, guys, Cezanne was still using Vega. AMD could have given Cezanne RDNA graphics, but they didn't because they didn't really have the money to justify that. They thought Vega would still be good enough, and it was. But now, again, as AMD said at their Financial Analyst Day, boy, do they have the money. They have the war chest. If they want to make a specific product do something a little quicker than they need to, they can pay for it. And so I'm not saying AMD will do this, but we do know that Phoenix is on 4nm. We do know that they have access to 4nm Vcache in Zen 4C in 2023. There's a lot of levers AMD can pull, and Intel only has Raptor Lake to fight all of those levers AMD can pull for a refresh before Zen 5, and though that refresh would be before Meteor Lake is probably even out. And from there, after Zen 4 and some Zen 4 refresh, potentially on 4nm with Vcache, I don't see how things get better. Intel this week actually confirmed that Emerald Rapids is near the end of next year, and Sapphire Rapids is delayed again. Guys, up to 60 cores, but almost all SKUs will be 56 cores or less. That's going to have to compete, not just with Genoa 96 cores, but Genoa with Vcache and Bergamo with 128 cores. And then Emerald Rapids, again, will it launch before Zen 5 server? Probably. But at the end of the day, it is abundantly obvious that Emerald Rapids is going to have to compete with Turin. And I pointed this out on Twitter, stating that mid last year, I was being told that Emerald Rapids was at least hoping to be able to launch soon enough in 2023, near the beginning of the year, to put some dent in competition with Genoa, even if it couldn't beat it. And then other leakers jumped to the occasion to point out that they had roadmaps stating that Emerald Rapids was supposed to launch 2022, or in fact, Granite Rapids, even at one point, was supposed to launch 2022. This is how far behind Intel's roadmaps are that they've been communicating to their partners. Imagine what that's like if you're an Intel partner and you're like, oh, Granite Rapids is 2022. No, that's being pushed back and redefined. Emerald Rapids will be there that year. Oh, never mind, that's coming out early 2023. Oh, never mind, late 2023. Who's to say it's not going to be delayed again? And even if it's not, even if it launches first, I don't see how that's any better than Genoa with Vcache or Bergamo, which will both be out at the same time for different applications, doing a pincer attack on Emerald Rapids. And then by the time Turin does come out, I just see this as a huge bloodbath. I'm sorry, 256 Zen 5 cores versus 64 basically Raptor Cove cores in Emerald Rapids? This is way worse than when AMD launched their first 64-core products against Intel's 14nm 28-core products. This isn't like before where AMD had a 2 to 3 times efficiency advantage per socket. This is like now a 4 to 6 times advantage. And behind the scenes, I'm being told by a lot of people who make purchasing decisions for big server companies that Intel is overestimating how entrenched they are in this market. Yes, they can justify not switching to AMD if their apps are built for Intel, even if Intel's half the efficiency, maybe even a third. But if it gets to like a sixth, they might as well just hire a whole new team of software developers to program so they can switch, because they're losing money staying on Intel. And I do actually want to touch on one more thing with Turin. There's been a lot of consternation also online about if AMD will be able to use TSMC's 3nm. And I myself have been, just more broken silicons than I can keep track of at this point, said that I've been hearing behind the scenes that TSMC's 3nm has some problems. But I do believe the assumption that it's even remotely as bad as previous node delays from TSMC, or certainly with Intel, is not true. TSMC's 3nm is a bit delayed, has a few problems, definitely not as smooth as their 5 or 7nm transitions were, but it's not that bad. And today, Lisa Su confirmed they will be using 3nm with Zen 5.
In this age of chiplets, you're going to see a diversity of nodes in pretty much every generation. And so I wouldn't overread into that. Let me just leave it as you will see many different types of chiplets and a diversity of nodes in most products going forward.
Yeah. But we should say you should expect to see 4 and 3nm versions of Zen 5, and you'll see them in 2024.
You see, what I believe AMD is doing with Zen 5, and what I've been told, is that AMD has, in case the problems continued, designed Zen 5 for both 3nm and 4nm. And what I think AMD is likely to do, if they have to, really I think what they're hoping is that 6 months from now they'll get the green light that things are going to be fine. But if they have to, I just think they'll make some products on 4nm, some products on 3nm, and the ones on 3nm will probably be the most expensive server chips with, 256 cores and maybe a few Halo models on desktop. And that'll be fine. Like if they were to launch their, mid-range Ryzens on 4 nanometer and their very high-end models on 3 nanometer. As 3 nanometer yields improve, they can phase in more and more of the 3 nanometer SKUs for more reasonable prices. And honestly, they can then have more capacity to keep making both 4 and 3 nanometer products for Zen 5. So that helps with their capacity problem as well. This shows a lot of foresight. This shows AMD is committed to executing. They don't go, woe is me, we have node problems, guess it'll come out 2 years later. They came up with a solution to their problem, and it's probably going to be a solution that, even if they don't need it, at least allows them to have more capacity. Why can't Intel do things like this? When Intel shows a Falcon Shores slide like this, why would I believe it's 2024? Why wouldn't I just assume at this point it's 2025 or 2026 or later? People point out to me that AMD has had delays too. Zen 4 was certainly meant to be out by at least the beginning of 2022, this year if they could do it, but, it'll come out near the end of the year. It's still not even a full year delay. That pales in comparison to the stuff I've seen about when Emerald Rapids was initially supposed to come out. And so, yes, can AMD have delays? Could some things push AMD's products back that more align with what Intel is saying they're going to be able to accomplish? Sure. But if you're a betting man, if you were a gambler, is that really the bet you would make? Would you roll the dice that AMD is going to have as many execution problems as Intel? I wouldn't. And it's alarming. Look, Intel isn't doomed. But when I now have to tell you guys that Meteor Lake Mobile is mid next year, that Phoenix is on 4 nanometer, possibly launching half a year before that, and then Meteor Lake might not come out till the end of that year, just before Zen 5 does, and then Intel is letting Arrow Lake slip all the way back into 2024, it better not get delayed anymore. AMD can afford that to happen. Meteor Lake could launch at the same time as Phoenix, and I think AMD would be fine. They could have a full year of delays, and you know what? Whatever. That would just mean Genoa-X, 96 cores with Vcache and Bergamo at the same time, would be competing with Emerald Rapids. Oh no. But if Meteor Lake were to get delayed into 2024, if Arrow Lake gets delayed next to Zen 6, I don't know. To me, this is just looking not like a new Intel, but like one Intel I've known all too well from the past. People would be good to remember how many times they promised Ice Lake before it actually came out. And when I see what's going on with Emerald Rapids and Meteor Lake, it doesn't instill confidence. Guys, 256 cores versus 64 cores. That's the real war. Winning one little metric on desktop by 5% does not a successful company make. And it's really starting to worry me, because if there's any more slip-ups at Intel, I'm just worried, again, that Alder Lake was not Intel's Zen 1 moment. It could be their Phenom 2 moment. That's going to just about do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'll be talking about all these upcoming products in upcoming videos. Make sure you subscribe to the Moore's Law is Dead YouTube channel and ring the bell button so you don't miss them. Remember, if you have the extra money, even just $4 a month, you can join the Moore's Law is Dead Patreon. You'll get access to the Discord to talk with me about this video afterwards. You'll be able to submit questions for guests. I have Wendell from Level 1 Techs coming on again to discuss Intel's roadmap and competitiveness with AMD. That'll be a great episode. You'll be able to submit questions to him. Got a loose ends coming up. Free questions for the right tiers for the loose ends coming up as well. And yeah, I guess after all of that, no matter what though, thank you for watching.